What is up, guys, and welcome back to the DocMack car channel. Today what I'm going to do is replace the spark plugs on my BMW 330i. This will be effective for any N52 BMW engine, whether you got the N52 B25 or N52 B30. It will work for the 3 series, 1 series and also the 5 series, as long as you got the N52 engine. Now this particular one is a 2006 330i E90. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the spark plugs, all 6 of them, and this is going to be a full how-to DIY videos. But consider subscribing to my channel. I got a lot of how-to DIY car videos. Without further ado, let's get into it. Alright guys, so the first thing we're going to need is a ratchet, and we're going to need a 12-inch extension. Now we're also having a 5/8 spark plug socket. The other thing we need is a spark plug magnetic socket. It's a 5/8 spark plug magnetic socket, and this will really come in well when you're removing it, as well as threading the spark plug in. Now you do need a 8mm socket as well, which is this one. And you do not need any power tools, but I have this one anyway. That's fine. If not, you can just use your ratchet and your socket with an extension. Now you don't need this, but I would highly recommend it. This is a click style torque wrench. So basically when it comes down to torquing down spark plugs, you need to torque them down to specifications, and this is what I'm going to get to in the video as well. And these are the 6 spark plugs that I've chosen. Now these are NGK platinum plugs, and this one is for the N52 engine, in particular the 330i 2006 E90. So that's PLZFR6A-11S. Now I got these spark plugs from FCP Euro. Alright guys, the first thing you need to do is you need to take off the brake fluid reservoir cover. So the brake fluid reservoir cover in the US is on the other side, which is exactly the same procedure anyway. So there's a little rubber tab here which you got to pull back, and then that should release and come out. So there's a tab on the back you need to pull out. I'll show you the tab in a while. Like so. And there's this little rubber grommet here you got to pull back. Now this is your cabin air filter. So this is the housing for your cabin air filter. So now what we need is an 8mm socket. You got one right here. There's some 8mm screws right here. There's supposed to be some right here as well, but somebody has lost them in the past. So you can see there's one here as well, and there's about 8 around the corners. So I'm going to take all those 8 out. Alright guys, so now that I've taken out all the screws, and then what you're going to do is you're going to push up and then pull back, and this is your cabin air filter housing. Alright guys, there's another 8mm screw here on the cowling piece. Some monkey has worked on the car in the past, and they have lost quite a few screws, and somebody also put a Phillips screw. Now what you're going to do is this part will actually be pushed in here, and all you need to do is just pull it out, and this will come out. Somebody broke this in the past. AUC sensor. So what you need to do is you need to pull the wiring harness out like so. So that's the little clip which you need to pull on the side, and just pinch that and pull out. Now this AUC sensor will come clockwise towards the front of the car, like so, and you need to wiggle it out. This wiring loom, I'll just put the screwdriver there first. This wiring loom will actually be plugged in here via this clip and into this plastic area. So you'll need to pull that wiring loom out. Now there's these 3 little bits you need to get down. So you need to put a screwdriver in and then push down. And pull it back. There you go. That. Okay, now we're going to take the cowling out. You need to remove the engine cover. I forgot to mention at the start of the video, you might need a T47. All right, and that should easily come out now. Now, you can pull all this wiring to the side, but that might cause some battery issues. And these are your ignition coils. Cylinder 1, cylinder 2, 3. This is your Valvetronic motor. Cylinder 4, cylinder 5, cylinder 6. This was the clip that was holding the engine cover on. Now, this looks to be held in by pegs, so I'm going to pull those out. The first thing I recommend doing is cleaning down any crud or dust that is on here. Alright guys, so now you have got this one all cleaned up, just general clean. Now what you're going to do to pop the ignition coil out, this is your ignition coil, is you're going to pull this little tab upwards, like so. Alright, and then what you're going to do is you're going to keep on pushing it, and you should see the cable try to force itself out, like so. And then you need to slide this cable out. Now what you're going to do is you're going to put your finger in here, like so, and then you're going to pull it out, and pray to God that I don't break this plastic. It's a really tight seal onto the spark plug, so this is why I believe you don't need to use dielectric grease, but for those of you who want to use it, go ahead, no issues. So this looks to be a Bosch ignition coil. How you can tell that is because this is black color. If it's a Delphi, then it'll be silver. I would recommend that you guys do a preventative maintenance by also replacing the ignition coil when you're doing the plugs. Alright guys, so now I've got a little bit of a inspection camera in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it into cylinder number 1. Why I'm doing this is because I suspect the valve cover has gone and it's slowly leaking oil into there. So what you're going to do is you're going to check this one here. Alright, as you can see, my suspicions are right. As you can see, there's a little bit of oil down there. However, it's not that severe yet. This must have been over time. And that's the spark plug. So I've got my 5/8 socket, an extension, and my ratchet. I'm going to put it all the way in here. And you're going to grab the spark plug. Alright guys, when I say a monkey had worked in this car before, I was mistaken. It's a gorilla. This one is so freaking tight to actually pull out. So I eventually managed to get it off. I had to do it off camera because I didn't want to move or wobble this one too much. I had to do it firm and a firm tug and pull it out. It must have been about over torqued. So now I'm gonna take the plug out and then we're gonna see what plug we have. Alright guys, and this is exactly why we need a magnetic spark plug socket. So you don't cross thread anything and it's easy to actually thread it out. Right, let's see what we have here. Alright, so that's the spark plug. And it doesn't look too bad, but the thing is I'm getting bad fuel economy. And you can see there's a bit of white bit here, which means that the plug has gotten hot over time. Overheating, you can see it's burnt right down the tip, so that's no good. Alright guys, so this is the plug. What we're going to do is you're going to pull this one out. And then you'll have a protective sleeve over here. And you'll need to pull that one out. Now, I'm not going to use any anti-seize. You guys can use it if you want to, but I'm not going to use them. And I'm going to load the plug in. As you can see, this new plugs these days come with some form of anti-seize coating from the factory. So I'm just going to use it that way. I'm going to thread it down. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is, a lot of people have got different opinions of the Newton meters as to what it needs to be torqued down to. Some say 23, some say 25, some say 29, some say 30. Now, some say BMW recommends 30, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with 27 Newton meters. And the reason that is because this is an NGK plug which I'm putting in, and between the NGK plugs on the NGK website, if you've got a 14mm thread and you've got an aluminum head, which this car has, then they recommend between 24.4 to 29.2 Newton meters. So I'm going somewhere down the middle, and where I feel comfortable is around 27 Newton meters. Now I've got my torque wrench here set to 27 Newton meters. Again, it's your choice how many Newton meters you want to go with, but that's the choice that I've made, and I'm going to stick to that choice. So now what you're going to do is you're going to torque it down to 27 Newton meters. Okay, so that's 27 Newton meters done. Okay. Alright guys, and now again, if you want to use dielectric grease, it's up to you if you want to, but I'm not going to because it's got a really tight seal here. Now what you're going to do is you're going to push this one back down all the way, and then make it straight and push it down until it seats properly. Yep, I kind of felt it suck it back down. Alright, and then what you're going to do is you're going to push this connection back in. Keep on pushing it in. And you see this one start to go down a bit. You'll see that it's come down a bit, this ignition coil plastic. Push it in a bit more. Yep, you see now it's like this. Now push it back down to form a seal. Now that is cylinder number 1 done. Alright, cylinder number 2. Lift it up. Like so. Push it back all the way. And pull the connection out. And this connection looks to be a bit dodgy. Yeah, there we go. Okay, that's pulled out now. Okay, that's ignition coil number 2. Oh, there we go. Spark plug number 2. Alright, second plug going in. And then just hand tighten it. That's good. That's 27 Newton meters. So I'm going to do spark plug number 3, number 4, and then we'll get back once we come to number 5. Alright guys, we are now at cylinder number 5. This is the worst of the lot because the strut brace is in the way and there is a hose in the way as well, and you don't want to puncture any of these hoses. So my little trick is you take a screwdriver. Once it's pulled all the way up and you've disconnected the ignition coil, you need to put the screwdriver into the loop, and then you need to pull it out hard, and then there you go, and then you pull the screwdriver out, and then what you're going to do is you're going to slowly wiggle it out like so. Again, don't hit the hose in the way, and there you go, it's out. Alright guys, so now I've got my 3/8 magnetic socket down here. Because it's a swivel socket, it kind of swivels past the area where it doesn't make contact. So now what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to take that one out now. Okay, so that's the new spark plug. Don't need any anti-seize or dielectric grease. So you see the swivel socket actually can move like that. That is what makes it easy to actually fit the spark plug in. So my suggestion is to go on the back of the brace, which is towards the firewall of the vehicle. So now what are you going to do? You're going to put that in there, and then you're going to thread it in. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put the ignition coil back in. Now, the best way to access it is through the back of the strut brace, which is the closest to the firewall of the vehicle. Now, what you've got to be careful of is that the ignition coil, the boot, has got to go in properly. It's got to seat in properly and make the seal. This oval bit must only have like a 10% hold right here. If you see more than a 10% hold, that means it's not sitting properly. Alright guys, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start the engine just to make sure that everything works before we tidy up everything and button everything back up together. Now we're going to see if there's any check engine lights on or anything like that. And start. Alright. No check engine lights at all. Yep. Engine sounds much better as well. More responsive. Alright, I'll turn it off now. Alright guys, so now that we have verified that the car starts up nicely and there are no engine misfires. Now, if you do get any misfires and you do put in a OBD scanner, you'll P0301 all the way through to P0306. It can be anything. The 1 represents the cylinder and the 6 represents the cylinder. So if it's the misfire on cylinder number 1, it will be P0301, number 6 P0306. If let's say there's a random misfire because the engine computer has to compensate, it will be a P0300. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this engine cover back. Now what I've done to make it easier is I've put the screws back in onto this bracket. So it's screwed onto the bracket now, and all we've got to do is we've got to fit it into the peg holes. Alright guys, we're just going to hit this with a bit of degreaser. Alright guys, and now what we're going to do is we're going to put the cowling back. Is we got to hook this one back into place. Now we're going to replace the AUC sensor. So the wiring goes into this little loom right here. It clips in like so, and then what you're going to do is you're going to put the AUC sensor back in, and then what you're going to do, there's a little groove right here which you got to fit it into first, like so. If you can see, there's a little notch right here and right here, and then push it towards the vehicle 90 degrees. And what you're going to do is you're going to clip it back in like so. And now we're going to put our Acorn air filter back in. Yep. Alright, and the final thing you need to do is you need to put this brake fluid cover back in, or your fuse box cover, wherever you are. This is the last piece of the puzzle. So this is how you change the spark plugs and ignition coils on a BMW N52 engine, which applies to the 3 Series, 1 Series and the 5 Series, as long as you got either the N52B25 or N52B30 engine. Don't forget to subscribe, like and comment if you'd like. Cheers guys, see you in the next one.